Oh hello, and this video is kinda gonna be controversial, maybe. Subjective, yes. But, to me, Borderlands 2 is the best looter shooter without a doubt. And you have to bear in mind there's extreme bias in there. You know, this channel is pretty much made from Borderlands. That a lot of the people I talk to enjoy Borderlands, and Borderlands really introduced me to grindy games, and it really, you know, having that first experience on Borderlands probably does affect it. But when looking at it and doing direct comparisons or playing through any other game, I never can get the same experience I get through Borderlands 2. In terms of doing everything a looter shooter to me should be good, well, it's just like the handling of loot skills, sort of even just like this campaign, the story, the fun, you know, grinding feels fun and rewarding, looting and going about it, every playstyle feels different. It just does all these things really well, and it kind of hurts me that, you know, Borderlands is kind of an overlooked game. It obviously is brought with a lot of praise, and like obviously by me, I praise the thing into the next century, but it is overlooked, and like it's never really mentioned in the, oh, this game changed, you know. It's always just kinda like one of those games that happened a few years ago, you know, which isn't the greatest. But today I'm just going to be talking about why I think Borderlands is obviously the best looter shooter, and possibly even looter game. Now that's probably the most controversial part, saying that. But I'll start talking about the loot, because the loot's the most important thing about the ideas of these games. The loot slash sort of builds, those are your like sort of baseline and what the games are built around. So in Borderlands, I don't really have this in any other games. Probably the best one to compare it to is Destiny, which is a long shot, is the connection to loot. You know, when you see loot, if it looks cool, you want to use it. You know, get that feeling, and you'll sometimes use guns even if they're worse, because you like the way they handle, the way they feel. And you don't really get that in a lot of other looter shooters or looter games. It sort of just becomes a stat game. Going through the game, you're just looking at the numbers, which it's alright, but it doesn't feel as good to loot. And you know, it just feels so much less rewarding, and the gameplay kinda doesn't feel as good. Another point I would argue, all loot differs. Every set of gear in this game will change the way you play. The closest thing you're going to have to not changing the way you play is a relic, if it's just like an XP boost or just like a corrosion damage boost. But in this game, a different class mod changes your whole build. A different nade changes the way you play. A different shield changes the way you play. Every sort of weapon, every subclass of weapon changes the way you play. Every manufacturer changes the way you play. This isn't even factoring in builds. You know, the Borderlands has always had like a sort of simplistic sort of, you know, item, rather than all these like massive armor sets, and you need all the armor sets to get these set bonuses. But it's just had a big focus on every piece of gear having an impact on how you play the game, and this is great. This is bloody amazing. This, you know, it really makes you feel like every time you get a new piece of gear, it feels new. It feels like you're discovering how to play it and use this gear, and it feels rewarding. It genuinely does, because this new gear, you're like trying it out and seeing if it suits your build. If you like the B shield or the sham, you can absorb a little bit more bullets, but you're gonna have to switch that out when you switch to fighting stalkers, because you're just gonna be a glass cannon at that point. And that is another great piece about it. Borderlands also brings some of the best things about having so many weapons, and that all these weapons are so different from each other and have really unique mechanics and play styles. And in a game like Destiny, when Destiny 1 for reference, because I didn't get Destiny 2, when I went through it, it did feel like all the guns were just your typical shoot sniper gun, and that. It's same with Division as well. But with Borderlands, you sort of love these traits about the guns. You've got stuff like the Bane. Obviously, guns. That gun is just not viable. That is not a viable weapon. But it's just fun, and it's cool to have, and be like, for when you're playing with new people, you're like, oh, you use this gun. It's really good. It really feels good to find these guns, and it's funny. It's just fun. And really makes that thrill of finding new weapons and seeing what different mechanics it has, and not rather than just looking at better stats, which most looter shooters I've played are. And I have to say it again, Destiny is the second best example of this. Division doesn't really hit the mark, and then for looter games, I'm not a fan of, like, for example, I've not completed Diablo, but going through it, the game really feels like when you're picking up loot, you're just looking at the numbers, and if it's better, yeah, there we go. Or, it doesn't feel like that rewarding to loot, and like you have that drive to get a really cool new weapon. Also, there's a lot of repetitiveness in, like, the armor variants. They all look the same, and it just makes it feel like it legit is a numbers game. You're getting the same thing with a better number. As, for example, like if you're farming the same gun over and over again, but you just kept doing it for a better gun, that's pretty much what it feels like going through Diablo for me. And that's why I feel like it does the loot so goddamn well. And the thing is, isolating the loot, the game, it does it brilliant, doing the loot. But the thing that makes Borderlands so well, it's not just the loot it does well, it does everything. It does so many things well. So many things, it really varies. For example, the build. I can't stress enough how fun and creative builds can be in this game. And I would say, Borderlands is a very hard game, but it's casual at the same time. It gives you options. There's arguments against the Gunzerker being completely OP, and he kinda is. He really is. Unless you really know how to use your character on other characters. So, I see the Gunzerker, but it's kind of nice to have that casual lay back and play the game, and it's the sort of casual option if you're not ready for this, having to really think about every skill point, every piece of gear you use to maximize your power and your build. But that's some of the greatest things about this game. You really need to think creatively about how you build your build and really use the skill points to your advantage. I keep going on about how bloody amazing the grenade build on Action is. It's just so fun and, like, crazy. Like, whoever thought you'd be playing a game where you're running around as a commando, chucking your gun and nades while shooting them with a purple pistol. It's just crazy. One of the other best things about Borderlands is it's just a crazy world, and it's so bursting with fun and passion from the developers, and you can really feel it, and it's showed through development. Everything in this game has something behind it, reason behind it, and fun. It's funny. It's just a really nice open world, not with your generic, just really boring stories. It just throws them out of the way. And that's another thing I have to say about Borderlands as well. It gets story right. It's not force-fed your, boring dialogues, your commandos speaking to you, even though you've got your Axton and Roland. It really, it adds in humour and really welds it into the game. And also, it doesn't really force the story upon you. It's like, it is a story. You will feel it going through the story, and you can go inside your side missions, which is a big part, and just exploring new areas through side missions and all that. But the story doesn't feel like it's setting you down for a cutscene after every mission, or it's making you sit through all this dialogue that you really don't care about. And it's dialogue that's not lengthy or like really repetitive or really sort of unengaging. It was a problem with Diablo for me. It's more sort of that genre of fantasy. I'm really sick of fantasy stories. I hate hearing about the witches and all this. To be honest, one of the best, the ones that I have a tolerance for now is Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls has created like a brilliant world with fabulous lore behind it, and it still doesn't force it down your throat, and I like that. But these are my thoughts. I genuinely think Borderlands is one of the best games ever made, and you should really try it. If you like grindy games, really give the game a good shot. Really make sure you pick a character that you think you're going to enjoy and really sort of want to play. Because characters do affect how much you enjoy the game, but they are all really good. They are, apart from Gage, her design's a wee bit off, but she can still be fun. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed, and play some more Borderlands. It's good, it's good. Definitely not biased here. Okay, see you in the next one, guys.